Hi, I'm Philip Hepler, and today I'll be showing you how to use Bitmap Tiff textures in Illustrator to give your graphic a vintage look. The first method I'll show you is pretty basic. The second method is a little more advanced. The first thing you need is a bitmap texture. So I'm going to go now to Photoshop, and this is a black and white bitmap Tiff texture that I've created and saved. It's kind of a grungy, weathered look. This is important that it's a bitmap TIFF because Illustrator allows you to colorize bitmap TIFFs, and it's going to interpolate the white in the texture as transparent. So let's go back to Illustrator and I'll show you exactly what I mean. We've got our graphic here that we kind of want to apply the texture to. I'm going to go to File, Place, and select my TIFF that I created, and I'm going to place it in Illustrator, and I'm going to size it to the exact size that I want. And as you can see, it's default, it's black, but because it's a bitmap black and white TIFF, I can actually apply color to it. And as you can see, the white areas in the TIFF are transparent, and so you can just place and size this TIFF to wherever you want over your graphic. You can also adjust the opacity by going to the transparency window or palette and adjust the opacity of the texture. Now, a more advanced way to use bitmap textures in Illustrator is to use the mask palette, and this is handy and really necessary whenever you want to apply texture to the art and it's going over a stripe or a textured background. So as you can see, whenever I do the same simple technique using a bitmap TIFF, in this instance it really doesn't work because it's an orange texture going over a stripe background in this case. So that's not going to really work for us. I'm going to use the same bitmap TIFF. So let me delete that. I'm going to place in our TIFF again. I'm going to size it to generally the area that I want. Next, I'm going to cut the TIFF to my clipboard, and I'm going to select this artwork or the elements of this artwork. I want the texture to apply to all the artwork, so I'm going to group all the artwork together. So now that it's grouped, I can go to my transparency palette here and click on Make Mask. And the first thing I'm going to do is uncheck the clip box. Now that that's done, I can click on this right box here on the right, which is the opacity mask. And once you click on that, it'll select it, and then you can paste your texture that you had already copied to the clipboard, and I can size that to where I want. As you can see, it's knocking through the artwork here and letting that stripe show through, and that's exactly what we wanted. And again, we can adjust the opacity to whatever we want to give the effect we want. Now, a very important tip is whenever you're using the opacity mask in the transparency palette, whenever you have this right box here selected, which is your opacity mask, you will only be able to select and modify the elements that are in your opacity mask. And what that means is if I select all right now, all it's going to select is the TIFF texture. To be able to go back to select my artwork, you have to click on this left box, which sort of takes you back to your normal mode. So as soon as I do that, I can do whatever I want to my artwork. Now, if I wanted to completely delete the texture from my artwork, I can select the artwork and say release, and it will release that texture where I can delete it or use it on something else. Okay, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and maybe you learned a new trick, and I would appreciate your likes and comments. Thanks.